And Margaret, is it
Naismith Yonker.
Yonker? Margaret Naismith Yonker. Great granddaughter of Dr. James Naismith. Fire away with some questions.
So I had read Judith's piece in the Star about, inequities with attendance and stuff. But there's other things in basketball that are kind of discussed about that, like female coaches. And what do you think are, with the history of basketball, what do you think is keeping women from taking those positions?
I personally think we're just behind. I think, not being able to compete at the same level for many years. I think it's a lot like the WNBA. Professional sports are years behind, and now you're seeing more athletic, more talented, gifted players. And I think that one of the things I noticed just being a college head coach is a lot of women don't support women, but there's reasons for that. It's not that they don't want to support. I think that, we have families. And so we don't have time to just hey, take care of the kids while I go out to a couple games. It's different when you're a mom. So there is a lot of those factors, which I didn't understand before I was a mom. But I think what I try to encourage the community to do is support women. I'm in, WAT, the women's group here, and I encourage, hey, go out and support each other. And then I do my part. So I pay it forward, and I go and I support the women's coaches here. I go support different, businesses or different charities that I know that women have started. So I think it's just a bunch of that. But I think that our game is growing. And I do like the fact there's a lot more female head coaches. A lot of the old, old school coaches like Joan Bomassini, Debbie Ryan, Nancy Darsh are friends of mine. And when I first got into coaching, they told me years ago there weren't a lot of male coaches, head coaches in Division I. But now when there's an increase in pay and different things, it changes. But I think that now the world is changing. Everything's changing. Now you see Becky Hammond's coaching in the NBA, and you see different. I would personally never want to coach men's basketball. That's not for me. But I think it's great that there's opportunities, and it's important. And I think that, Jenny Busek's a good friend of mine. She's with the Mavericks. And it's just, I think it's good to have a balance. So me, I don't want an all-female staff. I like to have one male. It doesn't mean I wouldn't have more if it was the right situation, but I do think there's value in women coaching women and mentoring women. I know that there's things that I can mentor my players on that my husband cannot. And it's not good or bad, it's just different. So.
Have you seen, maybe you have increased talks with your players about getting into basketball now that there's more of kind of a carved out, kind of a set plan?
Well, I have more talks with my players about stuff like supporting women's basketball, knowing stuff about the WNBA. That's our professional sport. They don't watch it. I think this generation does not watch basketball. And I have more talks with young women. I have more talks at my camp, and I do this a lot, to be confident, to not let a coach discourage you from playing the sport, to love what you do, find your passion. It doesn't have to be basketball. It can be soccer. It can be math. But you find your passion, because I've noticed a huge difference of young boys at a camp. You ask, who wants to be in the NBA? Every single one, even if they can't dribble and chew gum or never made a basket in their life, every single one thinks they can go to the NBA. If you go to a girls' camp, you can have some really good players. And maybe two will raise their hand like this, and they can be really good. So I think it's a confidence thing in young women. It's I don't know why. I know that when I have a little girl, she will be bossy, she will be confident, and because I'm going to instill those things that I know from sports. But I also try to talk about what has made me more confident and what has made me have more of a backbone and more resilient. It has been sports, and for me it was basketball. So it's given me a lot. So it's important for me to do things like this. It's important for our game, and it's important for women to represent. And I think that it's valuable for these young women. Like, I can mentor them.
And Mrs. Naismith, you just with a big name in basketball, and probably just being kind of intertwined in the history of it, have you seen just that correlation with more women coming into basketball?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. I know my sister played college ball, and I think when she began it was half-court ball. It was different. And the rules have been different, but women have always been welcome to the sport. And I think more are getting into it and more confident about their playing, just like Coach Barnes was sharing. And it's a wonderful opportunity.
And we both played, and I'm sure we have tons of stories about some of the most important life lessons we've learned.
Absolutely.
I mean, little things like the people you interact with. There's a lot of people I would have never acted with without sports. Just being able to cope with different things, being told you're not good enough, being told you're not good enough to make this team, or you're awful. All those things, the constructive criticism you learn to take, time management.
Right, teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork, all of those things I've learned through basketball. And so I think it
Absolutely.
changes you, you know?
Absolutely.
Ms. Naismith, tell us a little bit about, obviously with the name notoriety, coming up playing basketball yourself, and then after your career was over, the platform you're using with your great-grandfather's name on encouraging not only boys but girls to play basketball.
Well, I played in high school, and my knees didn't want to continue. So I had a choice, and I chose piano, and I still teach piano at home with my children. And I do enjoy, our daughter has played basketball as well, but it's very important. Being a part of a legacy and being part of a family, I'm very close to my parents. And my father has instilled in us a respect for one another, no matter. That's the underlying thing, respect. And when the game was invented, within the month, a group of teachers from a local grade school were coming down the street, walked into the gym, which was in the basement, saw the men playing, and thought, this is pretty cool. And within 2 weeks, they asked Dr. Naismith, can we play? Absolutely. He carved out an hour for them so they could go and play and be a part of this game. And when the first tournament came for the men's, the women said, we want a tournament. Well, Dr. Naismith, absolutely. And who was on the tournament but Maud Sherman? Maud became his wife. So my great-grandmother played on the first women's basketball team.
Wow, that's incredible.
Let me ask you a little trivia question or a fun fact question. Who's got the original peach basket from that gym?
Isn't that an interesting question? That would be so good to ask my Uncle Jan, who's not with us anymore. He had a bus, and he would drive around the nation and show his things. But I don't know who has that original.
Do you go back to the Hall of Fame at all in Springfield?
I haven't since I was a child. My sister Ann goes frequently with my parents. They'll go in September for the enshrinement and things. But I do remember when I went, not too long ago, Shaquille O'Neal's shoes were there, which were very large.
Very large.
Very large.
That's like the table, half the table.
How did practice go today?
It went well. We just had a Christmas party last night, so I think everybody ate a lot of food. So a little sluggish in the beginning, but it went great. Just it was an ugly sweater party, and if you would have seen my outfit, it would be embarrassing. But it was ugly for sure. So the goal, but for me, it was about family and team, and they got a lot of stuff, a lot of gear. I kind of hold off till Christmas, so they felt like they were so happy, and so for me, I love doing those things. So it's great.
Looking forward to this last tune-up game before conference starts. Obviously, the holidays going on and the age of the kids that you have to coach. What do you do to just kind of keep them on the straight and narrow going into the game?
Well, I've been talking the last couple of weeks about this is one of the hardest games. It's always like this, whether you're overseas as a professional player, because I've been that player that's thinking about going home and has my stuff packed before the games, to a college player that's younger. So we're talking about 18 and 22-year-olds. You have to try to keep them focused. We have a goal. We had a mission for our non-conference, and we've done great. And so just keeping that in mind and focusing on the present moment and just not getting ahead of ourselves, because the break's going to be there, and they're going to have a great time with their family. I didn't make a ton of rules this year about you can't leave after the game. I usually do, but I actually didn't think, I kind of forgot about it. So afterwards I was like, oh, I always had that rule. But I mean, it's not that important to me as long as they can show that they can take care of business. But it's just a challenging game. But the good thing is, NAU will have the same challenges. So, but my main thing is, as a player, you want to play well going into the break, or else it's a really long break. And I think we're focused, and we know it's revenge. So we want to play well before Christmas.
Do your overseas players usually stay around, or are they able to go?
So Lucia's family's here from Spain. Eugenie, she's going to go to another family's house. Usually, like, I typically would be in town. I would have someone over here at my house if they had nowhere to go, but they'll usually go with friends, or their families will come here. Lucia's family usually does like a 3-week swing. So they're actually going to San Diego So we'll be in the same city, but I won't see her for a couple days. And you know, for basketball, you kind of miss every holiday. So that's why it's important to be a family, and I'm an extended family for them, and they're at my house for Thanksgiving. Last year they were at my house for Christmas. So it's, you know, sometimes you can't always go home, or maybe don't have somewhere to go. So those things are definitely, during the holidays, you want to keep that in mind. And we don't get a lot of time. Most people get 2 weeks off. We get 4 days, 5 days. And so, you know, we miss a lot. Spring break, Thanksgiving, all those things because of our season. But that's what it is. And my goal is to create a program that doesn't look forward to spring break. So they're not thinking about spring break. That's not how this program's been. But that's how it's going to be, where they're going to be planning on playing in March and not worried about spring break.
How do you as a coach handle that 4 or 5 day break where you're locked in for like 2 months and then you kind of get, do you unwind, do you unplug, or are you using it as preparation?
I mean,
for that?
I don't personally, but as a coach, you never do. There's like no day off, but that's what I love about it. No, because for me, it's preparing for the Pac-12. So, I mean, I'll take a couple days with my family. I mean, I just always find time for my family. But yeah, like it's when my son's that's why it's different when you're a mom. We
Yes,
talk
it
about that
is.
sports. Like I will be watching film when I put him to sleep. So so if you ever see bags under mom's eyes, you know why? Because we don't sleep. You just get used to not sleeping, and it's life. But I think you don't unwind as coaches. We're always behind the scenes. We're preparing because we have a couple games, a couple days, and then we have ASU on the 30th. So yeah. So 1 day, maybe 2 days.
Hey, Coach, can you talk a little bit about some of the events that are going to go on at tomorrow's game?
Well, what event isn't going on? This is like, we brought someone special here. Margaret is special to us. I think,
Yes.
I truly believe everything happens for a reason. I don't think
Absolutely.
that I cross paths with anybody just coincidentally. I don't feel that way. So something brought Judith in my life and, you know, Margaret. So for her to have the chance to come here, it says a lot. And for her and what she does and how she supports it and her vision. And I even learned a lot of stuff today on the radio shows this morning, which I thought was fascinating. But there's a lot of things. We're face painting, dads and daughters. We are giving away a lot of things. I think the first 500 fans get a poster. So there's just a lot of festivities. We're making it a big night. We're encouraging people to come. The ticket's $10. So we want to pack the house. We want to make it a celebration because we're celebrating basketball.
That's right.
And basketball has created a tremendous amount of opportunities for hundreds of people around the world.
That's right.
And, you know, we're playing the game we love. Years ago when Judith played, there were no scholarships.
She
A
did.
lot of women couldn't
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't get to play, so that's even worse.
Yes.
There wasn't an opportunity. These
Right.
young women don't realize.
Right.
So I'm going to educate them, and they're going to learn a lot today, but they don't realize that that was even a reality, that you couldn't do it. But me, even in college, there wasn't a pro league until my junior year. So there wasn't even an option for me to think about going overseas. So it's created opportunities, so we need to celebrate it. And basketball's a pretty awesome game. So I love it. I think it's the
I would
best sport in the
agree.
world.
I would agree.
We're not biased, but but I think, you know, face painting, dads and daughters, posters, just a lot of incredible things. So come down and
And
join us.
Family time.
Yeah, and family
Family
time.
time,
Yeah, during the
yes.
holidays, and the kids aren't in
Yes.
school right now.
Right,
So
right.
family time together, and I think dads and daughters is a
Right.
really cool thing. Yeah, but just spend time with your families, and that's what the holidays are all about. It's about giving. It's not about receiving,
That's
and it's
right.
about spending family quality time with people you love.
And watching a great game.
And watching a great game on top of that. That's like the icing, right?
That's right.
So,
May I share a quote from Dr. Naismith about the first women's tournament he watched in Wichita, Kansas? And his quote was, "I was forced to admit that I had not seen a boys' game during the entire season that would compare in speed, accuracy of passing, and teamwork with that of the girls."
that's what I think all the time. No, that's really awesome.
Isn't that
And that's when
neat?
women
That he
just started
recognized.
playing.
Yes.
Wow, that's really
Yes,
cool.
very supportive.
What would you think you would say about just like you said, there's a lot of the women's professional stuff has kind of come to fruition in the last 25 years. What do you feel like his thought and mindset would be on just that structure and how it's kind of blossomed?
Well, he would support it and be very glad that they have the opportunity to do those things. His youngest son, my grandfather, his wife was an architect, got her degree, and just you could see the legacy passing on for that.
Well, and I also think that what I hear from a lot of players that played years ago, they really appreciate the women's game for a couple of reasons. The men's game is, I love the men's game, but it's really athletic. Like in the NBA, it's very one-on-one. It's above the rim. It's slam dunk. Our game is very similar to the old style men's basketball. It is more fundamental. It is
True.
below the rim. I'm talking about years before. It is extra passes. It's, not being able to break 2-3 people because you're such a freak athlete. You have to use your teammates. You have to set screens. You have to roll. You have to do fundamental parts of the game just because we're not as athletic. And so a lot of people appreciate that about women's basketball. I heard that a ton from men and when I played professionally. So I appreciate that, and I don't, people talked about lowering the rim so women can dunk. I don't think we need to. I think that as our game evolves and as we get taller, more athletic and catch up, you're going to see more women dunking. We saw it in the high school game in Colorado. Fran, the player that's going to Stanford, she just dunked in a game the other day. So it is changing, but I like the old school women's basketball. I like the fundamental part. I love teaching that part. I think our game is great, and I love the part about teaching women the other lessons that are more important than basketball too.
Right.
What do you think his thoughts would be of the evolution of the game, the shot clock, the three-point line, that type of thing?
I think he'd be amazed. I know he mentioned he needed additional rules, but I don't think he meant quite so many possibly. Sometimes you just want the game to play, right? So I think he would be amazed. He was able to go to the Olympics in '36 in Berlin and see the game at that level. So he did see it come to that point. But it is quite different from the fundamentals, too, that we have seen in the beginning.
Well, and you can talk about what you talked about on the radio.
Yes.
He said after the game it was like a tackling.
Oh,
What you
yes,
said
yes,
earlier. It
yes.
was interesting.
His radio interview of in his own words of what the first game was like. And basically ended up in a big heap pile in the middle of the floor with one knocked out, one broken collarbone. And he said, evidently, we need more rules.
He didn't mean 2,000 rolls, but
I think it's 10 or something.
But that was interesting. I thought when she said that, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because you don't think about stuff like that. I think you don't even, when you've played for so long, you don't even
Right.
think about how it's evolved.
Right.
Because as a kid, you don't really
Right.
understand. You just kind of play it. But even in my time, and I think in 20 years, it's changed a lot. I remember when we first played overseas, we played with the men's ball. And that was really hard as a
Yes.
professional, because for 8 months we played with the men's ball. Then we came back here, the key was different. So all those things, our game has changed a lot. And I love it. So.
And with kind of you see in the men's, it's a lot of pace and space. Has that kind of weaved its way into the women's side, even though it's a different style of play? Have you seen that?
I think it's just different because guys it's so much faster
Athletic.
and they're so much longer. So defensively it looks different a lot. So I just think they're so different. I think there's a lot of things you can teach in the men's game. You can't really teach in the women's game because we can't do it. And I think like women generally listen better. If you listen to a lot of coaches, guys, because they're so gifted, they can just do stuff. A lot of times, and I'm generalizing, but listen better because they don't have the athleticism or skill just to jump over 10 people, you know? But I think that it's just different because of the wingspan and, you know, like Ayton is huge and a freak nature of athletically. And there's, you know, Brittany Griner in the women, but there isn't like one on every team. So I think it's just totally different athlete and different game, and the pace is just a lot slower in most cases.
All right, anything else? Thank you, ladies.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to
Thank you. Nice to
Yeah.
meet you.